Hey y'all, we in the car. Real quick, y'all been harassing me talking about we ain't ate in a while. You ain't brought us no food, auntie, cousin, friend. You done let us starve. And I was like, you know what? Y'all right. Let me go ahead and feed my babies. We got, I know the bag is backwards, Tropical Cafe. So you know what that means. Acai. But so funny because I know the bag probably loud, so let me get it together. I'm gonna give y'all some. Hold on. I know I ordered it just like I ordered it just like y'all like it, so don't worry. If you're new here, let me give a quick introduction. My name is Jennifer Crawley. I am a life coach. If you need any type of life coaching in pretty much any area of your life, you can email me at jennifercrawley86@gmail.com or go to one of my social media platforms and hit me with a DM for a little one-on-one coaching. I can give that to you. So I'm a life coach. I am a suicide counselor. I am a chaplain. I am a entrepreneur. I have my own hoodies, which you can order one at theblackgrace.com. I know it's the summertime, but that's fine. You can still order one because, baby, I need a hoodie when I go to restaurants because I don't like being cold. And I also love to travel for ministry and, you know, etc., etc., etc. This is the only thing I don't like when you have to open up these bowls because it be pretty much stuck at the top. Okay. Y'all want to look at the top too? Here I go. Was it bomb or no? Let me see if they felt like working today. Because so far, the few times that we did eat together, these places felt like working, honey. Let me get into it. Let me get situated. Because y'all always want the first bite. And we doing this little mini series on relationships, all things relationships. But like I said, if you watch the previous video, there's so much that can be said about relationships, right? So what I'm saying is not 100% factual because obviously we have different backgrounds, different cultures, different age range, ways we grow up. You know, there's so many different factors that can go into a person's perception of things. So it's all good. So if the shoe fits, wear it. If you're willing to try it on because this might be something good for you or new for you or something you need to hear. But if you want to say something or agree to disagree, definitely write something in the comments. Or if you want me to discuss something or go over something, write it in the comments. And you can put it in the comments. Just because you ask me a question in the comments or put a topic in the comments, that we don't have... Everybody that watches the video or sees somebody ask a question in the comments, it does not mean that that's what that person is going through. They just may want to know my opinion on a little swoopty. So, with that being said, let me give y'all this first bite. And I know y'all like it with the granola and the little extra honey. Here y'all go. Here y'all go. Let me see. Can y'all... there y'all go. Yump. Sharing is sharing. And let me say this. Typically, I put in my title that I am eating. So if you see in the title that I'm eating, just know you're probably going to hear a little crunch, a little and a little commentary about the food. If you don't want to hear that, go to the next video or don't watch the videos when I'm eating. Anyway, I want to talk about something. And I thought about this because this actually just happened. And this made me think about context does not mean it has to be confrontation. Here's how I came up with that. So, my goodness, this melted immediately. So, I'm going into Tropical Cafe. I go there more often than not. I order the same way. She hits me with the total. Immediately when she hit me with the total, I knew something was different. So I said, oh, did you guys change your prices? Which regardless, it didn't matter. I was going to buy it anyway. Complete side note. I'm sitting here eating my food. It's literally probably an extra 150 parking spots and this lady is parked right in front of me. Whatever. But do you, sweetie? Because who am I to judge? I don't know why you parked there. So anyway, I was just curious. I was like, oh, did you guys change your prices? I was like, because I come here all the time and it's never been this price. And she was like, oh, no. So then she was like, so she handed me my card back with the receipt. So immediately I look at it, and then she charged me for like extra blueberries or what have you. Again, no big deal. But what I ordered was, I said no bananas, and can I have blueberries instead? And I said no bananas, can I have extra blueberries instead? So then when I saw the receipt, I'm like, why does she charge me for extra blueberries when I'm taking off of a fruit, which is the banana, and you're just going to put the blueberries in place of the banana? And so she was like, oh, well, I charged you because you said extra blueberries. And I was like, what do you mean? And so she was like, well, you said extra blueberries. And I was like, oh, well, I said no bananas. Can I have blueberries? Can I have extra blueberries instead? And then she was like, yeah, well, the owner says that if people don't say substitute, we have to charge them if they use the word extra. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, that's funny. I said, because even though I asked you to take off the bananas and give me blueberries instead, she was like, yeah, that's just what he tells us. I was like, oh, okay, no big deal. So it wasn't no beef. She wasn't feeling no type of way, neither was I. But in that moment, I was like, context is everything. How somebody perceives something is so important. Oh, sorry, y'all. I didn't give y'all no little, there y'all go. I heard, oh my goodness. Now, can I understand, as a business owner, why the owner would do that? Sure. No harm, no foul. And here's another thing. Well, let me not get off a tangent. So, I started to think about that, and it started to make me think about how we kind of come to places to where we may debate with people, misunderstand people, have a little bit of back and forth, where we may sometimes have a back and forth, or sometimes we won't have a back and forth at all, and we'll just go silent and we won't even address it because we kind of just feel like they're not going to understand me. But what I drew from that is, I said, you know what? It is okay, and we have to learn in relationships, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's a co-worker you might be close with, or whether it's somebody you're dating, engaged to, or married to. We have to understand that context is everything, and perception is everything. And what we have to learn is everybody is an individual with their own separate background. Now, when I say the word background, imagine there could be so many different things that's listed under that. Like I said before, i.e. culture, i.e. race, i.e. age, i.e. career, i.e. education, i.e. single parent, single father, married before, never married, Christian, atheist, grew up in a single household, grew up with a auntie, grew up with grandmama and them. You can just list out, grew up poor, grew up wealthy, grew up the only child, grew up with multiple siblings, grew up a twin, right? There's so many different things that can go into, fall under that category of us and our background as individuals. And I think a lot of times what happens is we get caught up trying to force who we are and how we feel and what we think onto someone that is their own individual person. Now, I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to say this. What I'm talking about, I'm not talking about no unhealthy, crazy crap where you gonna force me to act like this and do like this. It's a non-negotiable. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about how to get to a healthy place of an understanding. And so that, even though it wouldn't, but that could have hypothetically caused a breach. Like, well, what does it matter if I said substitute, da-da-da-da? Instead of me just taking a moment and just saying, I may not have done it that way, but I can understand that. And furthermore, it's not her fault. She just worked there. Second of all, his background as an individual, he has business owner under his belt. So he's obviously going to see it differently than the consumer. Here's another example. Oh, my bad. I'm going to be off home. Here's another example. I think I've said this before. And if I know I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. And I'm saying this loosely. To my next point. I I look at certain things on social media and I watch certain shows just to kind of see where people pull their information from, right? I have to look at certain things on social media because I talk to so many different people and I never want to be out of the loop of what's going on. Why? Because I don't want to lack information or lack knowledge, whether it's good, bad, or whatever the case may be. And therefore it causes me to misinterpret or misunderstand someone else. Okay? So, for an example, there's this one show that I take a look at from time to time. And some of you may have heard of it. It's called 90 Day Fiance. But let me pause right there. I always make this joke. Here y'all go. This got a little strawberry on it. I forgot to show y'all the bow. Bow. I always kind of make this little joke and I say, I feel like, of course with all the nonsense, I feel like everybody should record their, I feel like if everybody was able to have their lives put on, not even a reality show, but if you could just record your conversations, record your debates, not all of them, but just basically be able to be recorded. And then with like later on, 6 months or so, whenever you go back and take a look at yourself, I feel like people would perceive themselves differently because we can only perceive ourselves based on what we think. But here's what I find, especially when they do like the reunion shows with certain shows. Now, of course, everybody does not say this, but I've heard a lot of people that have been on reality TV, whether they put it on their social media or whatever the case may be. They always come back and say, you know what? Once I went back and I watched myself, I heard some of the things that I said, I was able to learn so much about myself, good and bad. Okay, let me get to my point. I watched the show 90 Day Fiance. And there's this particular couple on there. She's from America. I think she lives in either New York or LA, right? He is from, don't 100% quote me, but I think he's from Egypt. I'm not 100% sure, but the fact of the matter is he's, what is he? What, oh my goodness. I don't know if he's Muslim or, anyway, he practices a certain religion and I cannot think of, I don't want to say the wrong things, right? But basically he has a hard time because she likes to show a little bit of skin and part of my ignorance, and he likes his wife to be fully covered. Well, she tried to go over to his country. She was miserable. She couldn't do it. She couldn't adapt to the culture. She couldn't adapt to his religion. She came back to the States. Now he is now in the States and she's like, hey, now that you're in the States, this is what I do. This is how I am. I also know how you are. We have to kind of find a balance. They were going to go to dinner with some friends. She had on a dress and it had like 2 little slits going down the back, just small ones. When she got dressed, he said, I'm not going. She says, why? He like, because your back is fully exposed. Of course, her perception is my back is not fully exposed. And you said that when you came here, you were going to try to, have a balance and adapt to the culture. And he was like, well, I'm not going. Anyways, it turned into a huge fight because he was so driven by, this is my culture and my religion, my culture, my religion, my culture, my religion. But watch this. She was saying the same thing to him. This is my culture. This is my culture. This is my culture. And while I understand both points, and while both points are 100% valid, y'all know how he's got to relate things spiritual. Here's what the enemy will try to do. And of course, I know everybody can have so many different opinions, but that's why you shouldn't date anybody that doesn't have the same beliefs as you and da-da-da-da. Okay, we're not talking about that in this video. But here's what it was. Both of what they were saying was valid. They were actually saying the same thing, but they were just tailoring it to their life, their culture, their experiences, their religion. But instead, they decided to fight each other. Now, here you have somebody that's married. They said that they love each other. Hold on, y'all. Is it seriously the first time this acai bowl has melted this fast like this? What's going on? Now, they're married. They say they love each other. They both said we're going to do whatever we can to be together, work this out. We already understand automatically off the bat we had differences of culture, etc., etc. But when it came time, obviously they had that conversation when it was no beef. But when an issue arose or came up, and popped up. I could make up whatever word I want to right there. I don't even know if a rose is the right word, but that's what we're using right now. They didn't remember what they promised each other. They were too busy focused on how they felt as an individual, which is valid. But here's why we have to be mindful when we're dealing with relationships, whether, again, friend, family, intimate, because we're individuals. And the goal is, if I'm not against you and you're not against me, instead of us trying to fight each other, especially when we want to both be respected, the fight is not against one another. The fight is, how do we bring our emotions and our feelings under subjection? And I think as human beings, where we're all guilty of, it doesn't matter who we are. We want to be heard. We want it to be our way. We want to bend a little bit, but not really, right? We have that going on all day long. But when I was watching it, I was sitting there thinking to myself, when they watch this back, they finna see that she called him a name and they start going off on each other, cussing each other. I'm thinking, why did they do that? Obviously, it's going to be hard for him to adjust. He is a complete separate individual with different background, cultures, and religion, and so are you. But y'all knew that coming in. Y'all had conversations coming in. So sometimes we just have to take the time to just stop and say, wait a minute. It's not always about a matter of can we fix it to the point where I'm going to do it your way, you're going to do it my way. What if it's just a matter of understanding and making each other feel secure? Listen, I know this isn't hard for you to have to come and adjust to my culture, because I just went through it. But instead of us fighting each other, we both said that we were willing to compromise. But that compromise is going to come with a challenge. It's going to come with us choosing what matters the most. I'm not trying to dismiss that the 2 slits in my back does not affect you, does not bother you, does not make you feel like you're going against your religion. As a matter of fact, baby, I completely understand it. And what he should be saying is, and you know what? I completely understand how you've been living in the United States your whole life. I can't expect you to just adapt and just cover yourself from head to toe. So instead of us understanding each other, they decided to fight against each other instead of fighting together. And it may even come down to putting in crazy things that may seem crazy, but it's actually logical for the benefit of both people's mental and emotional well-being for the sake of the relationship. Okay. It may be something that may sound crazy that say, on Mondays, I'll cover up from head to toe. Okay. Tuesdays, I'm going to have my arms out. You got to be willing to compromise, because this is what you signed up for. Now, again, this is not the video where I'm saying you got to compromise to be unhappy and miserable. I'm not saying that. But they agreed, let's at least try this. But I think what happens is, as humans, we say we want to try. We say we want to do this. We say we're going to do that. But when it comes time to put in that work, we don't want to do it. And we allow the enemy to come in to pin us against one another, pin us against the person we love, pin us against a family member, instead of us just saying, at the end of the day, we both have to be accountable. We both have to be apologetic. We both have to learn to forgive. We both have to own up to the things we may have said or how we may have treated one another. Because I could point out how you mistreated me all day, and guess what? You could point out how I mistreated you. Sounds like to me, we in the same boat. You just on one end and I'm on the other. We not on the boat like the Titanic and we both at the tip. We in the same boat. But perception says, well, I'm going to be on this side of the boat because I feel like you've damaged me more than I've damaged you. And you don't know that y'all both feeling the same way. You've both hurt each other's feelings. You both have misunderstood each other. You both have mishandled each other. But at the end of the day, you on the same boat as me. So I'm no better than you and you're no better than me. And I know our fleshly emotions like to keep score. Well, he cheated, but I didn't. And I'm not making an excuse to say deal with certain things. But what I'm saying is, because that's not this video, what I'm saying is don't let the enemy trick you out of your ability to be able to have an understanding and have healthy communication with the person that you love or the person that you care about, or with the person that is valuable and of an asset to you in your life. Especially if you're just going to turn around and forgive him anyway. Context is everything. And what I mean by that is we just have to be willing to understand each other Understanding doesn't mean I have to agree. Understanding is, can we have a conversation? Can I tell you how I feel in this perspective? Can you tell me how you feel in this perspective? Understanding doesn't mean we're not going to have debates or disagreements, or we're not going to see eye to eye. That's not understanding. Understanding means when things come up, when we agree to disagree, or when we disagree to disagree, when we loud, when we fussing, when we doing this, are we as individuals, are we willing to say, well, I know how I feel. I want love, respect, and kindness. And I'm not saying a person has to give you that all the time, because we're human. We're going to make mistakes. That person probably saying the same thing as you. I just want to be loved and respected. So guess what? If I did wrong, I'm going to make the effort to do right. If I said the wrong thing, I'm not going to act like I didn't. I'm going to say X, Y, Z. Because the goal isn't to fight one another. The goal is to fight together and fight against the enemy. Because see, the enemy causes confusion. The enemy wants you arguing and mad and not talking. That's the enemy. And understand this, and this is a separate video, so I'm not going to really get into this with my next statement. I also realize it is a challenge when one person is there and that other person is not. But that's a whole separate video. In this particular video, I'm talking to the people that say, I have somebody in my life that, you know what, we have a little bit of a hiccup, but we need to be reminded, or I need to be reminded, you know what, we are just individuals. And if I want to be loved and respected, I have to give the same. If I make mistakes, or if someone makes a mistake and I want them to apologize and be accountable and show me through their actions and through their words and through their actions, I have to give the same thing. If I'm having issues and barriers and difficulties, I have to be man enough and woman enough to be able to communicate that. And stop lying and stop hiding and stop pretending like you want to do better, but you don't want to put the work in. Stop pretending like, oh, I'm trying, but you're not really trying. That's the trick of the enemy. Sometimes we don't know how to be honest with people and just tell people, I ain't trying to try. I ain't gonna be able to do it. I'm too exhausted. But we'd rather just keep lying. I am doing better. Man, no, you're not. I'm gonna work on that. No, you're not. And I understand human nature. I understand why we do that. Because it's not easy being accountable. I know all you good people out there, I'm just the nicest person in the world and da-da-da. We all make mistakes. It's not easy being accountable, especially if you feel like the person ain't giving you that back. Eventually, you're going to get tired of that. But I know y'all don't like to keep it a buck. Eventually, you're going to start saying, well, I'm not going to keep, being a bigger person. I'm not going to keep loving you. I'm not going to keep doing this and this, that. You don't do it for me. That's human nature. Which is why we all have to understand, again, separate video. We're not talking about just deal with no nonsense. But if you have somebody that is in your life that is willing, and you know they're willing to put in the effort, and you know you're willing to put in the effort, don't give up there. It's going to take time. We're not talking about years. But I'm telling you, as long as you're willing to continue to communicate your flaws, your ups, your downs, your weaknesses, which requires vulnerability, right? So there's a lot that goes into it. But as long as you're willing, you have something worth saving. You have something worth restoring. You have something worth continuing to build on. Because at the end of the day, we are no better than the next person. What do I mean by that? We all make mistakes. Just because you may have not had a person come to you and say, did you know you did da-da-da to me? But you thinking in your mind, I ain't never did that to nobody. You don't know that. Maybe they just didn't tell you. Somebody said something to me. Somebody said this to me a while back. I said to them, in so many words, they said, nobody's ever said to me what you said to me. I said, what kind of friends do you have? And I wasn't saying that to do no dig at nobody. I said, you're well over the age of 38. This is the first time you're hearing this? And they had a hard time receiving it because they're like, I don't know where you're getting that from. Nobody's ever told me that. I said, you can't possibly think that you've never hurt anybody's feelings or you've never made somebody feel some type of way. Nobody's ever told me that. So I had two things. I said, so what kind of friends do you have? Because I'm a firm believer in do not be in my life and I'm doing the most, not making good decisions, baby, hurt my feelings. I would rather fall out because I would rather somebody fall out with me, rather, because they holding me accountable because I'm doing wrong. And they like, listen, I'm trying to help you. You keep rejecting and you want to fight, I'm finna leave you to yourself. Because then I got to deal with that. But don't watch me damage my life, damage who I am, see me going down a certain road and you not saying it. So I said, out of all of these people you've encountered, nobody's ever said to you that your demeanor is da-da-da-da-da. Never. I said, I can guarantee you've offended somebody. So fast forward, like months later, we were having a conversation with somebody. I heard all of us were talking. And I said to this other person that knew the person that I made the comment to, I said, I want to ask you a question. I said, I want you to be fully honest in this moment. I said, I know it may be a little challenging. I said, has this person ever, now mind you, they've known each other for over 20 years. I said, has this person ever made you feel da-da-da-da-da? And I said, be honest. And that person said, you know what? I have to be honest. They have several times. And that person was like, I have? I said, I don't know why you would think that. Just because you may think you're a good person, it doesn't mean you're exempt from hurting somebody's feelings or from whatever the case may be. But because somebody didn't express it to you, here you is walking around like, oh, I never. And then that's what happens. See, the enemy get into us and now we thinking, I would never do what so-and-so did to me. You might not do what so-and-so did to you, but there's somebody out there that you did wrong to, and maybe they ain't told you because they didn't want to hurt your feelings. And they was like, and I said, well, why didn't you say anything? And the person said, honestly, because I just knew that if I was to say something, they wasn't going to receive it, or their position and who they were in my life. I just said, forget it. I'll just take it. And my point of giving that story is, that's why we have to be mindful of other people. Because at the end of the day, we all have done something, whether you know it or you don't know it. And again, we can go into more details about how these topics can branch off, but that's not what this video is for. I just want to encourage you. Context, background, perception doesn't have to equate to confrontation. Let it equate to understanding. Let it equate to I'm willing to listen. Let it equate to even if I don't have the same thought as you, at the end of the day, we still want respect. We both standing on a foundation of let's respect one another. And I even understand that that can look differently, which is why I keep going back to it requires conversation and being open and realizing we all are individuals. Just like you want somebody to respect who you are as an individual, you have to give that same respect. And just like that person want the same thing, they got to give that same respect. Make sense? Last bite. Y'all greedy. I love y'all. We'll talk soon.